Good morning. I guess it's a holiday for some people. I know it is for the bank. I was going to go to the bank today and then I realized that they're closed. At least I realized before I got there, which is usually the case. I pull up and it's like, what? Oh, it's a holiday. So I guess no mail today either, I guess. I don't know. President's Day. Today, we're going to have a little fun adding on poses. We'll start with our Utkatasana that we played with on Friday and kind of add kind of a ladder kind of thing. So as we add on, each pose that we add, we'll hold and feel and play in that a little bit. And then every time we come back to the top of the mat, each side, we'll add just a little more fun as we go through the flow. Remember, you can rest anytime you need to. In your chosen position, you can just stand and watch me if you want to, or lay down and get a little shavasana before you start your day. Let's start on our backs. I'll meet you on your mat. So I've got a strap today. If you don't, that's okay. You can manage without. But I want you to arrive on your back, and a couple blocks might be helpful. And at first, knees bent. Let's heel toe the feet off to the sides and bring the knees together. Lay your arms wherever they're comfortable, maybe lifting those palms or facing the palms up towards the sky. We'll open up your front chest a little more. Feel the feet. Maybe roll the head a little side to side. And then bring attention to the low back. And you can even reach back there to feel. Do you have a little lift back there? Do you? Don't you? What you got going on in your body? We have a natural inward curve of those last 5 vertebrae, the lumbar vertebrae. They're big and beefy. There's just a gentle inward curve there. And then the sacrum, so it's part of your pelvis, has a bit of an outward curve and then tucks under where the tailbone is, the coccyx. So you may be right on the sacrum with a little lift in the back. Let's play with a little pelvic tilting. So as you inhale, reach that belly button up towards the sky and notice you're lifting the arc in your low back. And maybe you can tuck your hands back there. And then exhale, press down. So now we're pushing the lumbar spine down and coming into just a little bit of a posterior tilt, backwards tilt. Inhale, lift. Maybe you can lift more vertebrae up this time. Exhale, press everything down. Let's heel toe the feet in line with the hips as we do this. Knees face up towards the ceiling. Tying this movement gently with the breath, waking up the spine. You can even start to lift the hips a little bit. Just a little gentle up and down with the bridge. Feel the movement. Try not to get lost in my words. Get the general idea and see what feels good to wake your body up this morning. We're waking up the spine right now and the hips. Let's do about 3 more. As you inhale, arc that back. Exhale. 2 more. Last one. Big arc. And up. And let's hold this one here. Notice what you notice. Maybe you want to tuck those shoulder blades a little more, opening up through the front chest a little bit deeper. Maybe the palms come down to the mat now, facing down. And bend the elbows, palms face each other, and just a little pressure down into the elbows to lift you up a little higher. Maybe lift the back of the head, tuck the chin, lengthen through the neck. Come up on the balls of your feet if you want a little more heat. And maybe lift a little higher. It's early. You don't need to come this far if you don't want to. Now keep the heels lifted, let the arms float down, and really bring awareness to the spine. I want you to start coming down from the top, feeling one vertebrae at a time touch down. And then it's like you're doing a little crunch here. So when you arrive, the back is flat, even that lumbar curve, and bring the heels down. And then just let it go. And that low back might spring up a little bit. That's okay. That's neutral. Notice how you feel now that we've kind of opened up the spine. Now bring the knees up and the shins are out parallel with the earth. So kind of in a tabletop position. I want you to bring your arms up. Call this dead bug. And keeping those legs up, I just want you to reach up higher with one arm than the other, and then come down, and then reach up higher with one arm and then down. Let's do two more each side. Reach across. It's a little cross patterning. So it's like you're picking apples, but you're laying under the tree in this really goofy shape. You know how I am about feet dexterity. Maybe we'll pick apples with our feet someday, huh? Now keep those arms up nice and high. And we're going to extend the right leg out long and the left arm overhead. And feel that diagonal stretch across the belly. And come back up. Second side, reach. And up. So adding a little core work here by not letting that leg, and really the arm for that matter, rest on the ground. We're just extending out long and finding the carpet or the mat with the back of the hand and the heel. Let's do one more each side. And float those feet down, float the hands down, pause here. Couple breaths, notice the back. Do you have that little lift back there? Just be curious about that. And draw both knees up to the chest. Now the back is probably flat. I want you to imagine there's the face of a clock underneath you on your mat, and using your knees to circle through the hips with that big thigh bone. See if you can touch each one of those numbers of the clock, but go nice and slow. Really be deliberate. Visualize the face of the clock and go slow, like you're in some sort of game show here, and you got to light up every one of those numbers with some pressure from your back. Go the other way. And float the feet down again, and if you have a strap, grab it. I've got a really long strap today. So a strap serves a couple purposes here. It kind of is an extension of your arms. I'm going to bring my right foot up and take this strap around the sole of my foot. So I'm not really forcing that leg into straight. And these hamstrings are still kind of tight from being curled up and sleeping tonight. But I'm going to encourage the fascia to relax by using my strap to massage my foot. If you don't have the strap, you can bring your foot down here and just give yourself a nice foot massage. That will help to release the connective tissue all along the back body. Right now we're focusing on the hamstrings and the calf muscles. And then come to stillness. You can wrap that strap if you need to. So the strap serves another purpose in our yoga practice. We don't pull a lot in yoga. So right now I've got my strap and I can pull. So I'm working the upper body a little bit here too, working the biceps. But really my awareness, once I get this move down, is in the hamstrings. So I'm pulling my toes a little closer towards my head, or you can soften the knee and then straighten. Probably a combination of both. And in your body, you may be clear out here this morning. Find the place that you can straighten the leg without locking the knee. So if you get up here, you're really losing your hamstring stretch if you can't straighten here. So come down here where you can straighten, and then play here a little bit with your edge. So do a few more and experiment with all the different ways you can do this here with the strap. If you don't have the strap, just take the hands to the back of the thigh. If you've got the room, you can walk it up the calf. And let's switch sides. If you're using the strap, you can always just bring the left foot up next to the right and switch that way. Let's massage. Releasing the fascia, the connective tissue, hydrating it. If you have plantar fasciitis, this is an excellent thing to do before you even get out of bed. I come to stillness. I'm going to wrap the strap. And I've got my knuckles, my fingernails are in my palms and it's kind of pointed towards me. So it's like a bicep curl. But nothing forced in the hamstring. And again, maybe in your body, you're way out here, that's okay. And you can bend the knee, reach through the heel. And come to stillness. Right at your edge. Breathe into that stretch. And then release. Lay the strap off to the sides. Let's draw both knees up to the armpits. Circle through both ankles here. One way and then the other. And then keeping those knees up, take the hands out here. Spread the fingers, spread the toes. We're going to make fists with the hands and fists with the toes. And my palms are facing away from me, but let's flip the hands so the palms are facing towards me. And as I make my fist, maybe I even curl those knuckles towards my forearm. Ooh, that's a stretch. Still working those toes. And a little double duty here. Stay lifted like this. Let's do some circling through the wrists. And then go the other way. Sometimes we do, in fact, most of the times we'll do some of our finger and wrist range of motion as we're seated, but let's mix it up a little today. Let's act like we're octopus or octopi or whatever moving through the water. You can even pedal your feet up and down here, so mimic the movement of the feet and the hands. Mimic the movement of the hands with the feet. Now draw those knees in tight, maybe even curl up. And let's come to a seated position. I have a blanket rolled up on folded on my mat, and you can see from the side camera that I'm sitting up on the blanket with my sit bones, but don't just plop your butt up here because that just lifts your butt. I'm bringing you into a place where you can use the blanket to bring a little more alignment to the low back, a little more comfort perhaps in this shape. Sometimes our knees are like this despite our efforts to lift those hips. In that case, you could use some blankets or blocks under your knees. Let's do a little work with the shoulders. Then we're gonna move on into some flow. Inhale, swing your arms up. And in this shape, let's pick some apples. So reaching through the side body, keep those sit bones anchored. Don't let them lift up as you reach, and feel that stretch. And you can even take this more into a side bend. Let's do one more of these on each side. Arms are up overhead, and then like you're reaching up there and pulling on a bar, and you're gonna pull it down so the arms are in goalpost. Let's inhale, lift the chest, come into a bit of a back bend here. So my pelvis is tilting forward, chest is reaching forward, then round the spine. Bring the forearms towards each other. Cat back. Inhale, lift the heart. Send the belly forward, cow. Feel the shoulder blades, bring them really close to the spine. Let's do 2 more. And come back to neutral. Keep the arms like they are. So shoulders are over hips, ears are over shoulders. I'm going to take this right hand down, come into a side bend. I'm dropping my right ear towards my right shoulder, that left arm's coming up. Now my chin is going to swoop down towards my chest, and my gaze will come down towards my right thigh. So you might need to look at the camera to see what I'm doing here. So I've gone from just bringing the ear towards the shoulder to letting the head just fall off to the side. Now keep that and take the left arm up and over in an arc. Just let the weight of the arm pull that left shoulder down. The weight of the head is taking the neck in the other direction. Feel that nice stretch in the neck and the shoulder. And then come back to neutral. Inhale, let's reach up for that bar again. Pull it down. Add a little resistance, even if you have to make it up. Even if you have to visualize some bar up there. Now take the left hand to the mat, take the left ear to the left shoulder. We're coming into a little side bend, reaching up and over with the right arm. Already feeling a nice stretch in the right ribs. And then we're just going to sigh and let that head kind of roll to the side and forward. Feel that stretch in the right neck. Then take the right hand nice and slow, up and over, nice and slow. Let the weight of the arm draw that shoulder down. And breathe. And then rising back up. Inhale, swing your arms up. Let's take a gentle twist to the right. Inhale, swing your arms up. Gentle twist to the left. Let's do 1 more each side, and I think we've warmed up our spine. Inhale, reach up with the arms, but lift through the whole body, through the spine, the rib cage. We're lifting up out of the hips. And then exhale the hands home to the heart. I'm going to move my blanket off my mat and meet me in table. Hands and knees. Knees under hips, wrists under shoulders. Push the mat away. Let's do a little more wrist work, and then we're going to come into our chair flow. So shift forward and back. And then turn the wrists so the fingers face left and right. Maybe even some circling here. Explore what feels good. Maybe it's just side to side shift. Maybe if it hurts, you don't do it. And then turn those fingers to point towards you. Now this can get intense. Shift forward and back. And notice if you crawl your hands a little closer to you, it's not quite as intense. If you crawl the hands away, it gets a little more intense, a lot more intense. So nothing forced, just open up the spaces in the wrist. And then turn the hands around, tuck your toes. Let's lift up into down dog and take a few breaths here to find any last little pockets that need a little wake-up call. Walk your feet hip distance apart. Walk the feet a little further forward. We'll settle into stillness here, bending the knees, pressing the hands away, and then lifting your hips any amount. Lift those sit bones straight up, getting a little last minute stretch in the backs of the legs. Bend the knees a lot, walk your hands to your feet. And once you arrive, bring the forearms to the thighs, just a light touch. Now pull those feet away from each other. Feel the outer thighs engage. Use those leg muscles to help you rise up. Bring the hands home to the heart. Pause to notice now how everything's changed as we've changed our orientation to gravity. I want you to come to the back of the mat. Imagine that tightrope again, and without looking, heel toe your feet to the top of the mat. So challenge yourself. If this is really easy, you can bring your hands to heart. If it's really easy, you can look around while you're doing this. Find your edge. And then find the top of the mat. Once we get here, let's start with the feet under the hips. We'll do a quick sun breath. Inhale, reach up. I can see the sun peeking up over the trees out there. Exhale, bend your knees a bit, forward fold. Take your hands to the blocks and lift halfway. So straighten those legs or in that direction, still working on the hamstrings. But as you're up here, lengthen through the spine. So axial extension while you're here. Exhale, fold. Pull the feet away from each other. Feel everything engage in the glutes and the hips. Use those big muscles to help you lift up so you don't put that whole load on the low back. Exhale, hands to heart. Let's do 2 more of those. Last one. Remember to pull the feet apart. I think that makes a huge difference. And exhale, hands home to the heart. Just keep the blocks out there on the front edge of the mat. We may need them later. I want you to bring your feet completely together. So heels touch, big toes touch. Now maybe you open the heels a bit. So kind of come up on the balls of the feet and those heels separate a little bit. If this doesn't feel good in your knees especially, you can bring your feet underneath your hips. Remember our alignment, so a little softness in the knees. All the joints are stacked. Samastitihi. Coming into the chair pose, just keep the hands right here on the thighs, just hanging. And I'm going to bend into the knees, drop the sit bones, and let's take a gentle chair to begin with. So look down there, make sure you can see your toes. So a little hip flexion, flexion at the ankles, and flexing at the knees. Now bring your arms out, palms face each other, and then roll those little fingers towards each other. Now the palms face up. Feel that drop your shoulders. Now bring the palms to face each other and the shoulders stay where they're at. Bring the arms up towards the head. They can stay forward of the head. Maybe bring the hands together and lift the gaze to the thumbs. Take a couple breaths here in Utkatasana, chair pose. And then fold forward here. Lift halfway. Let's step back in plank. And then drop your knees. Now you're in a kneeling plank. Let's take a little back bend. I'm going to bring the tops of my feet to the mat and lower my hips a bit. Bend the elbows a bit. So kind of a different way to get to cobra. Tuck your toes, downward facing dog. Walk the feet wide, left and right edges of the mat. Walk the hands to the feet. Pull the feet away from each other. Swing your arms out and up. Hands home to the heart. Tightrope to the top. Maybe a little more challenge this time. Finding your way to Samastitihi. Find that alignment. Now we're going to drop the hips a little lower, flexing a little more at the hip creases, reaching those hands right down alongside of the ankles. You can even touch the mat, but notice I'm keeping my knees behind my toes. My hips are low, Swing those arms up by the ears. Remember to roll the little fingers towards each other. So I'm a little deeper in my chair pose. Scoop that tailbone. Drop your shoulders. As you exhale, fold forward, hands on blocks. Step back with the right foot. Make sure you're on railroad tracks here with your feet and just drop the knee. So I'm going to keep my hands on the block. I'm going to stay folded forward in this kneeling lunge. You can adjust the height of the blocks if you need to, but I want to take an opportunity to push. So I'm lifting the chest, I'm pushing down. Draw the left hip back and let that right hip wrap forward. Couple breaths here. Blocks back to the top of the mat. Step back. Let's take a downward facing dog here. This time let's come to the top of the mat, but we're going to walk that tightrope again. Tiptoeing, enjoying each step, and plant your feet in Samastitihi. Drop the hips. Swing the arms forward and come all the way up this time, maybe even a little back bend, and hands home to the heart. And we'll take the second side, lowering down, knees behind the toes, check it out. Swing those arms up, scoop the tailbone. Hold here for a breath or two. And then on the next exhale, fold forward. Find your blocks. Step the left foot back. Drop the knee. My right knee's over my ankle. I'm going to adjust my blocks so I can really get a good push, like you're in plank. Drawing the right hip back and the left hip forward. Feel that engagement. And then loose the blocks. Step back in down dog. And tiptoe forward. Maybe a little quicker with your tiptoes this time. Big toes to touch. Little space behind your heels. Drop your hips. Swing your arms up. Tuck your tailbone and then come all the way up. And exhale, hands home to the heart. Let's add on this time. So finding our chair pose. We're going to fold forward, step back with the right foot. This time, keep the knee lifted. And we'll do the same thing here on the blocks. So find your low lunge, and then maybe we take a twist here. So I'm going to keep my right hand on the block and reach up with my left and breathe. Reaching in both directions, maybe looking around here a little bit, challenging your agility. Now unwind, blocks off the mat, step back in down dog. I'm going to adjust my mat because it's walking forward on me. And then from down dog, a little quicker trip to the top of the mat. Big toes touch, drop your hips. Swing your arms up by your ears, pause here, and then all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart. Second side, dropping. Arms up, scoop the tailbone, fold forward, step back with the left foot. You got your blocks. And we'll pause here to push a bit. Adjust those hips. Shift the weight to the left wrist. Reach up with the right. Breathe. Look around. Challenge your agility. Challenge your balance. And then unwind. Lose the blocks. Let's take a down dog. And we'll rest here. Feet are under hips. Bend the knees a lot. Push the mat away. That might feel good on the back. Or maybe as you inhale, you lift the sit bones. Notice where you feel sensation. Notice the breath in this shape. Now lift your gaze between your hands and let's take a couple bigger steps. So not huge steps, but we're not walking that tightrope anymore. Big toes to touch when you arrive. Drop your hips. Swing your arms up by your ears. Scoop that tailbone and then inhale all the way up. And exhale, hands home to the heart. Here we go again. Chair pose. Fold forward. Step back with the right. Make sure you're on railroad tracks. And we're going to rise up in a high lunge. Now once you get here, take your hands to your hips. Bend your right knee. Scoop that tailbone again. Feel that. Neutralize the pelvic bowl. Reach through your heel. Any amount. You may end up with a bend in the knee. And then once you get this all set, bring those arms forward. Roll the little fingers towards each other again. Drop the shoulders. Then palms can face each other. Arms up by ears. High crescent lunge. Maybe even adding a lift of the gaze, a lift of the heart. Breathe. Whew, that sun's in my eyes. That's what I'm going to blame my loss of balance on. And then exhale, fold forward. Let's take a little vinyasa here. So come back to plank. Drop your knees. Come to the belly. Keep the hands right by the shoulders. Let's do 5 rolling baby cobra. So as you lift, keep the low ribs on the floor. As you exhale, tuck your chin, come back down. 4 more, inhale. And exhale. Unfurl that head last. 3 more. And as you come into this last baby cobra, maybe it feels good to lift a little higher. Into a high cobra, then let her go. Tuck the toes. Down dog. Take a few big old steps to the top of the mat. Big toes touch. Drop those hips, knees. I can take my fingertips to my knees or to my toes and draw a pretty straight line up to my knees, keeping my knees behind the plane of the toes. Now swoop up and all the way up. Maybe a back bend. Hands to the heart. Let's take the second side. Utkatasana, tuck that tailbone. Forward to the blocks. Step back with the left foot. We're coming up into a high lunge. Make sure you're on railroad tracks. Rise up. Hands to hips. Left hip draws back. Let that right hip wrap forward. Bend your knee a little bit. Scoop the tailbone. Soften the ribs in the front. Arms by ears. Maybe you take a lifted gaze, lifted heart. Breathe. Feel the wobbles. Be grateful for those stabilizers. Exhale, fold. I'm going to move my blocks. I'm going to take another vinyasa, coming to the belly. And this time, let's just take 1 back bend. So maybe you come to high cobra. Maybe you even lift onto the tops of the feet into upward facing dog. Exhale down. Tuck the toes, down dog. And this time, maybe we can take 2 big steps to the top of the mat. Hips are heavy, heavy, heavy hips. Swing those arms forward and up. Pause here in chair, scoop the tailbone, and then rise all the way. Exhale, hands home to the heart. Let's add on. Find your chair. Scoop the tailbone. Fold forward. Blocks under the hands. Step back with the right. We're going to rise up in a high lunge. Now take your hands to your hips as you straighten that front leg. We're going to turn to the right, pivot. Prasarada. Keeping your hands on your hips. See if you can kind of push down into the hips and at the same time We lengthen through the crown of the head, drop the shoulders, and then right here at the hip crease, we fold forward. Keep pulling the feet away from each other as you fold forward. You're gonna bring your hands to the mat, kind of in a halfway up position. Again, some axial extension, finding space in those vertebrae, and then continue this fold at the hips, any amount. And walk your hands in line with the feet, or not, you find your edge. And while you're down here, really shake that head, yes. Release the neck, and let the head just hang. And the weight of that hanging head allows the crown of the head to face the earth. Now walk the fingertips forward. I'm going to bend through the knees, and I'm going to walk my hands. I don't need the blocks. I'm going to walk to the top of the mat. Let's take a vinyasa. Come back to a plank. Lower to your belly. Take a back bend or take a break. Maybe it's low cobra, baby cobra. Maybe it's high cobra. Maybe it's up dog and down. Tuck the toes, down dog. Great big step. See if you can start with the other foot now to the top of the mat. Big toes touch. Drop those hips. Arms hang down towards the floor. Scoop them up by your ears. Axial extension. Tuck the tailbone and then come all the way up. And hands home to heart. Second side. Find your chair. Don't forget to scoop the tailbone. Don't forget to draw those little fingers towards each other. As you fold forward, find your blocks. Left foot back. Rise up. Lunge. Maybe a back bend. Hands to the hips as you straighten the right leg. Pivot to the left. Prasarada. Let's take a back bend here. So take your hands behind you. Lace your fingers. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. Feel that opening through the front of the chest, the pectoralis muscles. Now push your knuckles down. Reach the knuckles away. And once again, folding at the hip crease. Fold forward and let the head hang. Breathe. Arms might get a little tingly, that's okay. It just means you're stretching through the thoracic outlet. And now release the hands to the mat. We're going to walk to the top of the mat with the hands. Let's come down to our hands and knees and find a child's pose. Child's pose, happy puppy. Just let it go. Find a place to support your head. And maybe you bring your arms alongside your shins and let those shoulders drop. Breathe up and down the spine. So if you're in happy, or if you're in child's pose with me with the knees hip distance apart, my spine is rounded in flexion. But notice, if you're in a wide child's pose, you end up in a little bit of a back bend. So two different places for your spine. Supporting a little flexion, supporting a little extension, just by the way we come into our child's pose. And then working your way back up. Swing the legs around. We'll do a couple seated poses, and it's time already for Shavasana. As you come back to a seated position, lift those hips a bit. Control that descent onto the sit bones. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. They can be close to you. They can be further away from you. I like to do one thing with you. I want you to push the feet away. In fact, we'll work into this in little increments. So take the hands gently to the shins, and with that gentle pull, roll to the front of the sit bones. So now you've got that nice inner curve of the low back. And we're going to move from here, reaching forward with the heart, any amount. Coming into a Baddha Konasana, this is a nice opportunity to give your feet a little love. And then come back up. Now, if you want to deepen this, instead of dragging the ankles to you, lift your hips and come towards the ankles. And that way you kind of maintain that forward tilt of the pelvis. If you pull the ankles towards you, you end up rounding oftentimes. So here, maybe we fall forward again. And this is one I always like to just surrender to. If that feels good in your body, let the head hang. And then rising up, let's take a gentle sage twist to the right. Stack the left knee on top of the right. Right hand's behind you. A gentle look over the right shoulder. Back to center and take the second side. And back to center. And come to your back. Find your way there in any way that feels good to you. I think I'm going to try to roll back on a rounded spine, kind of the reverse of how we came up. And once you get here, if you need any last minute poses, any last minute movements, it's always kind of nice to feel your way into Shavasana. And if you're in Shavasana with me, I'm kind of in a 5-pointed star position. Let's invite a little more relaxation. And it may sound counterintuitive, but I want you to contract muscles. So I want you to push your arms down into the floor, legs into the floor. Big inhale, maybe even scrunch up your face and then open your mouth and exhale, let it go. Let's do that one more time. Everything reaching and pressing and lifting and squishing. Big inhale and then let it go. Feeling the rise and fall of the navel. As you inhale, it moves out. As you exhale, it moves in. Maybe that is a mantra you can use as you rest here. As you inhale, think out. And exhale in. Soften the muscles of the face. And rest. Begin to deepen your breath and remember how we moved the toes and the fingers and the feet and the wrists, all kind of in concert with each other. Let that movement expand, the limbs, the elbows, the knees, the hips, the shoulders, all of it starts to move. Maybe rock a little across that low back again. And a nice good morning stretch, another contraction of everything. Roll to your right side and work your way up to a seated position. Time to start our week, huh? I have a busy week this week. I have a lot of classes to plan for. Keeps my brain busy. Let's reach up one more time. Grab some sunshine. It looks beautiful out there. Exhale, draw it to the heart. I looked at my weather app and it's supposed to be sunny and really spring-like today, but I think we're getting a lot of rain tonight. May you have peaceful thoughts, peaceful words, a peaceful heart, and a peaceful world. Namaste. I will see you Friday right here on this mat, 7 a.m. Thanks for joining me.